In this session, Michael and I are discussing how to change your feelings about anything so that you feel good about it. Even if it's a negative situation or a negative event, even if you have been feeling bad about something for years, there's a simple two-step formula for making it a positive memory. I start off by telling Michael about a client I recently had who was struggling with how to feel about her mother when her siblings were trying to get her to feel a different way. This is an extremely important bit of information.
Well, she was talking about her mom, right? And she said her mom always criticizes her and makes her feel bad. And her mom's so critical and she criticizes everybody. And so she has a couple of siblings and they tell her, why do you even bother visiting mom? She's so critical and she's so negative all the time. And I never go see her because she just, makes me feel bad. So I don't bother going to visit her. And she was saying, but I love my mom. I respect my mom and I really love my mom and I like her even though she's so critical. So I don't know what to do with that feeling because she makes me feel so bad when I'm around her. I can't forget it. I can't forget about it. I don't want to just dismiss it, pretend it doesn't happen because it happens. And yet at the same time, I love her. So I don't want to just cut her out of my life because she's my mom, and I want to maintain that connection, right? So I thought about that and I didn't have any great answer right at the moment. But the next week I did because I thought about it, and because I was listening to the recording of the sessions. And I remembered this time I went to see my mom, and my mom was super critical. I don't think I ever remember her saying anything nice to me, nice about me. You know, I don't remember ever her saying, "I like you, I love you, I'm glad you're my son, I'm proud of you." Nothing like that. I don't remember her ever saying anything like that. So I went to see her one time. She was in a nursing home. She was in her mid 80s. She died shortly after. And so I was sitting there talking to her and kind of girding my loins, like getting myself into the state where I was anticipating, some rude remark or something from her. So I was sort of on the edge a little bit. And I looked around her room. She had this little room that she was living in this nursing home, right? And so I looked on the wall over in the corner there, and there was this picture that I recognized. And I thought, hey, have I told you this before?
No, I'm just smiling because I know where you're going.
Yeah. So I saw this picture and I thought, hey, that's a picture. I remember that picture. I won that in school in grade 7 because I got the highest mark in religion, right? And it was a picture of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which is like a famous picture. And so I looked and I thought, hey, wait a second now, she must have obviously she kept that picture her whole life. I mean, when I gave it to her, it was like 50 years before. And I thought she must have kept that her whole life. And when she moved into the nursing home, of all the things she could have brought with her, because my dad was a photographer, so I mean, she had no shortage of things that she could have brought to put on the wall.
Yeah.
And yet she brought that picture.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, that must mean she's proud of me for that, or at least she was proud of me. And as a matter of fact, probably every time she looks at that picture, she remembers that, oh, I got this from Anthony, right? And so I went, oh, wow, that's interesting. And she was probably proud of me my whole life, and I never knew it. So that shifted something. And I thought, so when I told that story to this lady who was in my class, the following week, I said, so here's what I want you to do. You asked me about how do you think about your mom? You don't want to forget the fact that she's your mom. You don't want to forget the fact that she's critical. You can't just ignore it. And yet, how do you think about it? So I said, here's what to do. Close your eyes, bring a picture of your mom in your mind that indicates that she's critical. Doesn't matter what it is. Just get a visual picture, just a memory or some thought, that to you means she's criticizing me, And she says, okay. And I said, now get another picture beside that picture. I want you to get another picture. Just take another picture in your mind of the fact that you love her.
Yeah.
And you respect her, and she's your mom, and you appreciate her, and she, raised you from a baby and whatever, So you have these two pictures in your mind. So she goes, yeah. So I said, now take that picture that shows you loving your mom and being really, respecting your mom, and make that a super big picture, like a big poster, like a movie poster on your wall, colorful picture, bright lights, big picture, and move that forward so it's in the foreground. And then that other picture that is her being critical, move that way into the background as though it's outside on a lamppost. You can see it through the window, but it's kind of a small, dim picture, black and white picture. You're not forgetting about it. You can see it. It's still there. So she did that. I said, so how do you feel now? She said, well, I feel like I really love my mom, and I'm glad that I love my mom. I appreciate her. And I remember her being critical, but it's not so important anymore. And I said, that's exactly right. So I said, practice that exercise, take those two pictures, move one into the background, small little black and white picture, very dim. You can barely see it, but it's there. You're not denying it's there. It's there. But the other one is big, bright, lots of more intensity, lots of more value to it. And I said, do that every day for the next week, And so I thought, that's the perfect answer. That's the perfect thing.
Exactly what you teach. I do the same thing, with we're doing a step. When you go back to the past and you look at a situation that was negative, some trauma. Well, you've been carrying all this emotional baggage about that, but you go back and now I can look at it differently because of where I am today. So if I'm looking at it differently, I change how I feel about it. Like you, all of a sudden, you see this picture of this that the mother was carrying and realizing, hey, my mother was proud of me, but just didn't know how to show it. Yet it changes how you feel about that today. You don't have the same charge.
Exactly. And so what I did after that, I remember after that picture, I tried to remember a couple of other things that indicated that she was proud of me, right? Or that she was good, that she loved me,
Yeah.
And so I remembered a couple of things. One was when I was about 5 years old, I stepped on this big spike, There was a ditch in the back of our house where we lived, and they had these big, like I guess they were probably 2x12s or something that lined the side of this thing. Well, some of these boards had fallen down, and they were held up there with these huge spikes.
Oh.
I mean, they must have been, maybe 8 inches long or something, and pretty thick, 3/8 or something like that. And so I stepped on one of these one time and put a hole in my foot, right? As a matter of fact, the hole is still there. And I remember that got infected, and for about a week, I couldn't walk on that foot. And so I spent the day in bed for a week. And my mom looked after me, as of course any mother would, But nevertheless, that was a memory that I had, which I had sort of forgotten about. But I remembered it, and I thought, okay, there's another instance where I know that my mother loved me, right? And another one was when we used to go to school in the morning. My mother, like a typical mom back in those days, the early 50s, she did all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the washing, and everything else. And so every morning when I went to school, she used to iron my shirt, so my shirt was clean and didn't have any wrinkles. And I remember I used to love that feeling of putting on a warm shirt, man. It was like, oh, this is, this is so great. It's this warm shirt. I just loved it. And I thought, oh, there's another instance, when my mom showed how much she cared for me, right? So those three things, I mean, that was enough really to kind of cement that feeling that I was loved and my mom loved me, even though for most of my life I didn't believe that. I didn't feel that.
Why, let me ask you a question on that thing. So why do we tend to remember the negative things rather than the positive? It's the same thing when I, get people to do that success list. They have a real challenge in writing down their successes, but they can sure write down their failures.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the challenge, try to think of those loving times with your parents. Well, it's more challenging than saying, oh, the negative, here's all the negative stuff. So why do you think that is?
Well, there's a couple of things, I think. Number one, it seems that we have this bias toward the negative.
Okay.
Which, psychologists say it's probably an evolutionary thing, right? Like if you're living in a cave and you are thinking of going outside to get some food for your family, what are you going to think about? Well, partly you're going to think about finding a rabbit or something that you can eat. But the other part is, I don't want to get eaten by a bear or a tiger or a wolf or something, right? So that's the negative. I mean, the negative thing is going to be more important because it's more dangerous kind of thing. So they say that we have this bias towards the negative that's kind of built into our brain, right? And so I think that's one reason why we tend to think of it. And also, when things hurt, they hurt. And we tend to remember them, right? And so if it makes us feel bad, if it hurts, then we're going to be traumatized by that to some degree, right? Now, have you heard of Dr. Gabor Mate?
Oh, I told you before, that was Jenny's family doctor. I've met him quite a few times. I've attended quite a few of his workshops. Yes,
Right,
brilliant.
right. So he says that we're all victims of trauma and abuse, right?
Yeah, and some
But he
form.
said, but he said that doesn't mean that we've been abused.
No.
But we've experienced it that way.
Yeah.
So we experience something, and it might be somebody just making a funny joke or a sarcastic remark because, we got a spot on our forehead or something. But if it strikes us in a way that kind of hurts our feelings, that tends to stick in our mind, right? So this idea that we sort of pay more attention to the negatives than the positive, I think that's something that, according to some people, is sort of built in, right? And the other thing, and I mentioned this in the early part of my book, right? Now, when I did this course, as a writer, as a creator, right? I'm used to this experience of trying to put my thoughts down on paper. And you experienced this writing your book. So so the first draft that you do, you don't judge it. You just sort of put everything down there, right? And then you edit it, you cut things out, you add more things, you move things around. And what happens, and you can tell me whether or not you've ever experienced this, what happens to me is you sort of find yourself going, oh, that's what I'm trying to say. You follow me?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
It's like, he's like, oh, that's what I'm trying to say. I sort of almost said it here and I almost said it there. And now that I sort of put it together and I realize, oh, hey, this is my point. This is the point I'm trying to make, right?
Right.
So when I started this 6-week course, or this 4-week course, as it's going to be from now on, I think, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. I had a few kind of vague ideas and I wrote a few notes and I recorded a few things on my phone And then, of course, when I did my sessions, I recorded them. So I played them back and edited them and that sort of thing. And at a couple of points there during that 5 weeks or 6 weeks, I found myself going, oh yeah, that's the point. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the whole point of this program, of this course, right?
Yeah.
And so the point of it is how to feel better about your life. And in the past, when I was doing workshops and things, I would ask people, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your health? Just on a scale of 1 to 10, And then I would ask people, what answer did you get? And some people would say, 10. Some people would say 6. Some people would say 3, 4, 5, And you can draw that wheel, that wheel of life kind of thing with the 6 different areas. And you can put spokes on it and you can say to people, okay, put your score on those spokes and then join them up. And oftentimes what happens is you don't get a smooth round wheel. You get a sort of a cockeye, kind of a funny shaped thing. And then that gives you a real visual representation of how you feel about your life, right? In those 6 areas. So the purpose of the course was to change your feelings, feel better about areas where you, at the moment, you're a 3, you want to move it up to a 5 or a 6 or a 7, right? And so the way that I look at it now, and I talk about this during the course too, that's your life track, right? If I say to you, how satisfied are you right now with your life? And you go, 6. Well, next year, if I ask you that question again, it's going to be a 6. And the year after, it's going to be a 6. I know that, or at least I believe that, right? Now, why do I believe it? Because I'm a linguist. I studied linguistics for years, right? Now, linguistics, and I'm still studying linguistics, but linguistics is a part of cognitive science. Because, when they look in your eyes, you go to the doctor, he looks in your eye, right? Now, what's he looking for? He's looking for the blood vessels in the back of your eye. Why? Because it's the only place in your body that he can look at the blood vessels. That's the only place he can look at them is in your eye. And what it tells him is something about the state of your blood vessels. So if he sees, cholesterol or blockages or whatever in your eye, he gets a good idea what the vessels are like in your legs or in your heart or in your kidneys or in your brain, because they're all sort of the same, right? They're all like, parts of the same fractal kind of a thing. Here comes Greg. So, so there's a concept that I learned in linguistics. And I've talked about it before here, but you might not remember. Hi, Greg.
Hey, guys.
And that is your idiolect, right? Have you heard this term before?
No.
Well, your idiolect is your individual dialect. Like if you listen to Greg talking, you'll say, oh, if you're good at dialects, you'll say, he sounds like he's an American, maybe California, West Coast, Whereas if you listen to me, you'd say, oh, this guy sounds like a Canadian, that sort of thing. So your dialect identifies you as a part of a group. If you're raised in Quebec, you're going to sound a certain way. If you're raised in England, you're going to sound a certain way. If you're raised in Scotland, you're going to sound a certain way. So that's your dialect. It identifies you as part of a group. But your idiolect is your specific pattern of speaking. No one else sounds exactly like you. Your friends can recognize your voice as soon as they hear it on the phone. You call your friend, you say, hi. They go, hey, Michael, right? Or hey, Greg. So that's your idiolect. So this is something that they use in linguistics. It's a way to describe somebody's unique pattern of language, voice tone, nasality, all those kind of things. So to me, that's a perfect metaphor for what I call a person's emotional idiolect. Like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Well, if I say, how satisfied are you with your life right now? And you say it's a 6. Well, to me, That's your idiolect. That's a part of your emotional idiolect. Now, why is it a 6? Well, it's because it's your particular way of feeling about your life, right? And it's not going to change. I mean, you spent 50, 60 years developing that, same as my accent. And unless I do something to change it, my accent's not going to change. And so that's how I feel about our emotional pattern, right? If you feel this way about your life now, unless you do something to change it, it's going to be a 6 next year. So that's your life track. That's how I look at it. You know, you're on a 6 life track in terms of satisfied with your life. You're on a 6. So if you're on a 6 track. So if you want to be on a 10 track or a 9 track or an 8 track, then you got to learn how to shift it around. And that's the purpose of this 4-week program that I put together.
But the base to shift it around is through your thinking. I mean, I just can't change my feelings. Just say, you know, but if I change how I think
No,
about something.
no.
Yes.
No.
Oh,
No. Here's the thing. Read chapter 1 of my book. I talk in there, I think it's in chapter 1. It might even be before chapter 1. It might be in the prologue or something. But I talk about this guy who won the Nobel Prize for his work in the split brain. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head here. But he won the Nobel Prize for his work. And part of what he discovered was what he calls the explainer. Right? So the explainer is a part of the mind, or something to do with the way the two brains work together. Because the two brains, we think of them as one brain. We say, well, I have a brain. But in actual fact, you have two brains.
right.
Left brain and the right brain. It's kind of like the left eye and the right eye, you know.
Right.
But they do different things. And so the explainer, its job is to explain your experience so that it makes sense to you. Right? That's its job. And it does it usually verbally. And we call that a belief, right? So somebody insults you, you go, that guy's a jerk. That's an explanation. He may not be a jerk at all. He might be a wonderful person, but you think he's a jerk because he said something that hurt your feelings, right? So what happens is your brain, because one of the fundamental ideas in neuroscience is neurons that fire together wire together. You've heard that before, probably, right? So what happens? You have a bad feeling and you have an experience. This guy says something to you. This guy looked at you funny or whatever. He gave you the finger, you know, whatever it was. So you feel angry or hurt or whatever.
Right,
and so your brains have to work together to make sense of that. So what they do is they come up with an explanation. And your explanation might be, that guy's a jerk. I'm not gonna pay attention to him anymore. I'm not going to invite him to my next workshop, you know, whatever. Now you take that as being true, but it's only true for you. It's true in that moment, right? That's an explanation. So that's part of the meaning that you put on this event. The guy gives you the finger, you get angry, that's what it is, right? So what most people do when they want to change their thinking, they work on their verbal thinking, right? Like this lady I just described told you, you know, she said, my sister tells me I shouldn't see my mom anymore, but I don't want to not see my mom because I love my mom. So, you know, and I can't forget the feeling because, you know, it's just a part of our relationship, right? So this is what people do. They spend years running themselves ragged trying to sort out these thoughts. In my experience, that's the wrong way to do it. The correct way to do it, and this is what I'm teaching people, is number one, learn how to feel good. Past successes list, right? Learn how to feel good. So when you feel good, you got the good feeling in your body, and you think about this guy because you want to reframe this experience you had with the guy giving you the finger, let's say, right?
Right.
So you're feeling good proud, happy, strong, and you remember this guy giving you the finger. And your brain is going to give you a different explanation for it because now you're feeling good. You're not feeling bad anymore. You're feeling good. So your brain has to figure out, well, what reason can I have that I feel good when somebody gives me the finger? And it might be something like, I'm just going to give you an example. Like it might be something like, those people don't bother me. I just let that go. They don't bother me. Somebody gives me the finger, who cares?
Well, how about he's not hitting you?
Whatever, right?
You know?
So listen to what I'm saying, because this is important, right?
Yeah, I get it. Let's
You
just keep
start
it
with the feeling. You don't start with the explanation and the meaning. You don't do that. You can play with the meaning later. We also do that too. We do that in session 2. But the first thing is to learn how to feel good. So when you feel good, you feel good. And you can feel good for your own reasons. It doesn't matter what the reasons are because they're private. They're your reasons, right? So if you feel good when somebody insults you, let's say, then you feel better about your life because somebody insults you, you still feel good. But if you feel insecure and somebody insults you and you get angry and upset and want to start a fight, then your energy is like negative energy. So that's basically what I've learned. And that's the purpose of this 4-week course that I just put together is number 1, learn how to feel good. And then feel good while you're thinking of negative things, and your brain will rewire itself. You'll find a reason to feel good. Have you got that feeling proud in the rain recording? I think I sent it to you.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the feeling proud in the rain. It's like, okay, here I am feeling proud, right? I wrote a book, I feel proud. I won a yo-yo contest, I feel proud. I did this, I feel proud, blah, 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 blah. I got a degree, I feel proud, right? And then when people insult me, when I think of times I failed, I feel proud. And what happened to me was my mind kind of went, what? What do you mean feel proud? Aren't you supposed to feel angry and stupid and ashamed and embarrassed when you fail? Okay, you want to feel proud? Well, okay, well, maybe you can feel proud because at least you had the courage to try. You can feel proud about that. And your mind goes, oh, okay, well, that's a good reason. So now when you think about your failures, you feel proud. That's rewiring your brain. That's neuroplasticity, right? You do it over and over and over and over again until it's fixed. It might take you 30 days or something. But now all of a sudden, when you think of your failures, you feel proud instead of feeling ashamed. Who wants to feel ashamed and embarrassed and stupid? Not me. So most people go, well, that means this. How can I change the meaning of it? But you're wasting time by doing that. Start with the feeling, learn how to feel good about it first. And the meaning will come to you. And lots of times it doesn't take very long. It takes a couple seconds.
So you're saying, okay, go back and feel good, feel the sense of feeling good. You're going back to a guy fingered me. So I'm feeling angry. Okay, I'll feel good about just get that sense of feeling. Go back to that situation, and you're feeling good. So now the brain's confused here. So the brain's got to rewire, figure it out.
Right. Your brain will figure it out. And it might take you 2 seconds to figure it out. Or you might have to do it a few times to figure it out.
Not the reverse. I can't go back and change my explanation to change my feeling.
That's the wrong way around. I mean, that's the long way around. I mean, you can do that too. But
that's a long way around.
To my mind, it's the long way around. Like it might take a long time to try and figure out some verbal explanation or some meaning, But if you do it at the same time, you have the feeling, you have the experience, and your brain's going to go zzz, and it'll figure it out. It'll say, okay, you can feel proud because you didn't lose your temper at the guy. Oh, okay, I feel proud now. Somebody gives me the finger, I feel proud. What? Why? How do you feel proud when somebody gives you the finger? I feel proud I didn't punch him in the face. I didn't feel, I feel proud that I didn't lose my temper. Oh, okay, that's good, right?
Okay, okay, let's continue. Let me look, see what I do is, okay, going back to a past event where in my addiction, I did some behavior that wasn't good, and I carried this guilt and shame.
Right.
So now I go back and I look at that differently in the sense, okay, I was in my addiction. My addiction was taking over. I'll take responsibility for it, but I don't, I don't carry that same charge. It's not giving me a get free card, but I can look at it differently. And therefore I'm not carrying that same charge. It's not affecting me the same way. So now I feel better about it.
Right.
So there I'm changing how I'm looking at it. So
Yep.
it's
You're changing how you're looking
a
at it.
different explanation.
Different explanation, different
So what
meaning.
you're saying is, okay, I'll get in this. So I'm in this place of I'm feeling good, I'm feeling comfortable. I'll go back to that situation, feeling good and comfortable. So I'm there.
Yeah.
And so somehow um, the brain will refire to find some sort of
Yeah, it'll come up with a reason. I mean, that's what the explainer does. This is why the guy won the Nobel Prize, right?
explainer. Yeah.
So because if you feel good, if you feel proud, let's say, thinking about your addiction, that's really the end result. That's what you want, right? That's why you go through all these explanations and, oh, well, I was in the past and I was weak and I didn't know as much as I do now. And I had, I was going through a divorce and, whatever it might be. You go through all these machinations and what's the end result that you're looking for? You're looking for the end result so that you feel good. So start there, start feeling good, right? So my belief is that most people don't know how to feel good.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. That's their idiolect. Their idiolect is they're angry and frustrated, or whatever, or feeling weak. So if you just start with feeling good, and how do you feel good? Past successes list. Because what they discovered in 1995 is when you think of the past or you think of the future or you think of the present, your brain's doing the same thing. So use the past as a resource. Find some time in the past when you were proud of yourself and feeling good and healthy and happy, and feel that way while you're thinking about something that used to make you feel embarrassed or weak, let's say. And just hold them both together and your brain will go and it'll figure out a reason why it's okay for you to feel good about yourself when you think about that last, that negative past event.
Well, I hear what you're saying there because I remember I was just really in contemplating, and I was feeling at peace. I was feeling comfortable, and I went back to a past event, and there was no charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm feeling good. So I go back. There was no charge, and it sort of surprised me in a way.
Right.
So then I'm back to feeling good.
Yeah, exactly. So when you feel good, like when you feel good all the time, no matter what happens, I mean, that's the purpose of life in some sense.
Yeah.
For more information about this online community, to get your own copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, either the ebook, the paperback, or the audiobook, go to mindtimeandpower.com, where you can also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook.